Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And as you can see, we're back here at Undercaste Studio. Shout out, you guys. Thank you, as always, for having us. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary, fine teas and remedies. Raoh Records, from indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Raoh Records, supporting the community, one track at a time. All right, thank y'all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Raoh Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
704 Raoh. What's good with you guys?
Hello.
How you doing, man?
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been a while.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Okay. I'm 704 Raoh, aka Rockstar Raoh. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm a third generation music artist. I've been playing instruments since I was 5 years old. I started with piano.
Okay.
A little saxophone and then guitar.
Gotcha. Okay, you did the complete circuit.
Yeah. I was just kind of thrown into music as a kid. So.
Gotcha. And what did your, parents and grandparents do musically?
My dad plays bass, and then my granddad plays organ and piano.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, you had no choice but to get into music.
Pretty much. Yeah, they was like, you're playing. So
I dig that. I mean, I assume that you've enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, I love music
the whole time.
It's my life, man.
Yeah. And what was your first individual music experience when you kind of decided to go in your own direction?
Honestly, I didn't start actually writing music. I was mainly into instruments up until high school. I actually got suspended. I wrote my first song in suspension.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after that, I just kind of started making beats, and then making beats for people I knew, and then mixing and mastering. So that's kind of my progression.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, so you just been in it.
Yeah, I have, honestly.
Oh yeah. And then before we get into more of what you do with music in the present day, I do have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on.
Okay.
This first one is one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
I think this is a two-part question. Okay. Technically, it was Lil Bow Wow's first CD. I bought a cereal box.
Okay.
I bought some cereal. I can't remember what it was. Probably Reese's or something. And it came with Lil Bow Wow CD.
Gotcha. All right.
But the first actual CD I went out and purchased was probably The Carter, Lil Wayne.
That was the first album I ever heard.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Hell yeah.
My first one. So.
Yeah. Damn, that's cool. I've never had anybody else. I've gotten every other Carter at this point, but this is the first time I've heard somebody else say
The Carter.
The Carter. So
yeah, it was The Carter.
That's really cool.
Okay, yeah, that's dope, man.
And then what was one of the first live shows you ever went to? That was specifically one you wanted to go to.
My first actual concert was Destiny's Child, and I was against it at the time.
Fair,
I was a kid. I was
you didn't get it, yeah.
And then when I went, I actually loved it, and I'm still a Destiny's Child fan to this day. So I'll say that one.
Hell yeah,
yeah.
Okay, damn, that is a quality first show.
Yeah, it was actually. It was mind bending. Actually, they were amazing.
But then I guess later on, what was the first one that you bought a ticket to?
I think J. Cole.
Oh, okay.
J. Cole.
Damn. This quality experience is all around.
Yeah, definitely.
Hell yeah. And then before we officially get into it, and this might be tough because you have been doing it for so long and you started so early, but do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
Actually, I do. I was making beats. I was in college, and this dude I knew, Aunt G, shout out to Aunt G, man. You really pushed me. He made this song. It was dope. It was called Ice Cream Chop. I don't know if it's out there, but if y'all ever, it's Aunt G Ice Cream Shop. And I was like, man, that song is fire, man. And like, that was my guy. I was like, if he can do this, man, I could probably really do this too, you know? So
Yeah.
pushed me into it a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I dig that. Well, then let's go ahead. Let's get on to more what you do with it in the present day.
Okay.
We are going to get a super easy one out of the way first, though. How'd you pick the name?
Well, 704 is Charlotte area code.
Gotcha. Okay. I kind of had a feeling.
Yeah. So, and Raoh is short for Pharaoh. I knew it was a lot of Pharaohs out there, like Neff the Pharaoh. And like, so I just shortened it to Raoh. So
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, 704 Pharaoh.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, and I guess I forgot to ask, what brought you out to here, and when did you move out here?
I moved to Seattle in 2018. And I just had I graduated from really the streets. It was after college, and I just came. My cousin was out here, and he was like, "Come out here. Seattle's cool. Weed was legal. It's not legal in North Carolina.
Gotcha.
I think they now just getting like CBD and hemp, you know, trying to push it medically. But I was like, yeah, I'm gonna come out, and I really loved it. Seattle's a dope place.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And I mean, you definitely, it seems like you've been putting in some work out here for sure.
For sure. I didn't make my first actual album until I came to Seattle and linked up with P. White.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to P. White.
Oh, yeah. Now let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing process a little bit.
Okay.
And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're going to start right at the beginning. Okay. So when you get inspired, you're ready to make music. What are some of the things you do to get a track started?
First things first, I usually roll up. Roll a little weed. And then I listen to some beats. You know, I just listen to instrumentals and kind of try to find a vibe.
I gotcha. And are you getting beats from like the internet? Do you got like producers in your pocket? Are you making your own?
I got a couple of engineers. I work with Brennan P. White. Al, he's over at 100 Studios. Brennan's at 888 Studios. And I do search the internet, you know, you can find some gems on YouTube.
Yeah, you can for sure. It's definitely, it's not quite the way it used to be way back in the day.
No.
This'll be fun. It never was.
Now you can get on and really find some stuff.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And I think it's a cool way. Like if you find somebody who has like a series of beats that you enjoy, you can actually like reach out to them and get connected. And I think really kind of, you know, bridges the gap all over.
Yeah. And you kind of like get people to, because those people making beats, and just like I'm making music, they're making beats in their room, and like they would love $200.
Yeah,
that's gonna change their day. It's gonna change their life. It's gonna push them to go harder. It's gonna push them to, you know, make more beats. So
exactly. And then as far as like the words go, are you the classic pen and paper? Are you doing it on your phone? You freestyling off the top? How do you get those out?
I think it kind of depends. I do a little bit of everything. I freestyle sometimes. I write in my phone a lot, but I do have like a stack of notebooks that's just like full of, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess it just depends on how I feel like getting it out.
I gotcha. As far as like the stack of books go, do you ever like remember something from a long time ago and just like search for it in there, or you just like open it up to look for ideas just whenever you feel like it?
Honestly, when I make, I just write I write all the time, like every day almost, 3-4 songs. So I think I kind of just have an idea of like when I'm writing, like, all right, this is the one I want to put on the song.
Gotcha.
On the tape, or like, this is the one that I want to like put out maybe next month or next year maybe.
Yeah, I gotcha.
You know, okay. So.
And then once you get a track finished writing, so it doesn't have to be recorded or released yet, but you've gotten it to where you can kind of start learning it and getting it ready to get it out there. How long does it usually take you to feel comfortable enough to perform a track?
Honestly, I've performed tracks the same day I've recorded them.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, but I'm gonna give you a little secret. I think Lil Wayne goes through this. Every time I perform, I forget some words.
That's fair.
So it's like if I make it next week, or if I made it today, I would forget.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, I've never been much of a vocalist in any of the things I've done for very similar reasons.
I think it's because I write so much, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh, what did I say again? But you know.
No, I got you. And you've got a pretty good amount of music out there. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but I am curious to know, like, how do you go about like putting together your set lists? Because you have so much to pick from.
I think I kind of go by the vibe in the crowd. So like if I'm going to a rap show, then, you know, I have a list of rap songs I'm using. If I'm going to like a punk show, then I'm going to put out a little rock and roll. So I guess it just depends on how the crowd is categorized.
Gotcha.
Integrated.
Okay. Have you ever like been next in a lineup and like seen like an act before you do some stuff where you're like, all right, let me change this up last minute?
I've had some times where I wanted to, but usually you can't really just like change it mid set.
No, I gotcha.
I've never really had the opportunity to, but I've definitely had some times where I was like, "Oh, I wish I could have did a different song," because I just saw how the crowd reacted to that.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I gotcha. That makes sense. Well, then let's go ahead and let's talk about some of your music.
Okay.
So I jumped on ye old Spotify.
Okay.
And you've got just a grip of music. You've got so much on there. It goes all the way back to like 2018. And from the start, you clearly had like a sound. You know what I mean? Like there's clearly you in there. And as time progressed, you really found out like a good variety of sounds around me. And you got rock, you got R&B, you got pop, you got punk, you got indie, you got everything in those spaces. But what's really cool is that you take the time to really make each track your own. It's like, because we can tell it's you that's on the track, but like each one has a different sound, a different feel, different flow. You're not just like taking the one rhythmic pattern and putting it on top of whatever music is under you. It really has a variety in every delivery that you bring to the table. And I think that's really interesting.
I appreciate you catching that.
Yeah.
And I think that just goes back to my background, my family. Like when I was a kid, my dad used to listen to like oldies, blues, rock, pop, just whatever he could find, records. And he had this big brown stereo case. I think a lot of kids' parents had the same one, the Sony. So I was just interested in music, man. I loved it. And, I have a lot of different backgrounds that go into it. And I don't like having the same sound. So like if I make a song, even on the same tape, I never want it to sound like another song I've, made.
Yeah.
Or it's just like a preference of mine.
No, and that is definitely apparent in a lot of your work.
I appreciate that.
And I mean, it's even, your most recent track, Bill Wright with, is it correct 3 times or just 3?
Yeah, correct 3 times.
Oh, cool. I'm glad I landed that.
Yeah.
It's definitely a vibe. Like,
appreciate that.
It's really, and I'm curious though, is the receipt on the picture real?
It's a real receipt.
Okay, cool.
It's a real receipt, yeah.
I was looking, I was like, this doesn't seem like something somebody just like typed up on the thing. You know what I mean?
It's a real receipt for sure.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, that looks like a fun night.
Yeah, definitely.
But I am curious to know, out of all the music you have available right now, what are some of your favorite tracks of yours to perform?
To perform?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think some of my favorite tracks to perform tend to be rock songs because just the crowd of like the rap crowd and the rock crowd, they kind of like perceive and like intake music differently. So like when you go to like a rock show, they're kind of like ready to jump up and down and like they don't really always get to receive what they want. So I feel like sometimes when I play like Mayday or Trying Hard, they kind of just eat that up.
Yeah.
So
I gotcha.
That's what I like to perform.
Oh yeah. And then I want to take a moment now and I want to zoom out. I want to look at kind of more music as a whole.
Okay.
What are some of the things you're listening to right now that you enjoy or you're finding inspiration in at the moment?
I find a lot of inspiration in Future. Future. I listen to a lot of Lil Tecca. I think that kid is fire.
Yeah.
But I kind of try to listen to mainly like old school music. If I found this new song, it's by it's called Tender Kisses. It's by Tracy something. I can't remember. I want to say her name though. I want to make sure I get the lady's name because it's a fire song. I found it on Instagram, and I've been listening to it every day. Tracy Spencer.
Gotcha.
Tender Kisses. So if you guys want to listen to some nice old school music, go listen to Tracy.
Hell yeah, I dig that.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, my thing got all messed up here. Before we move into the next portion, this next question I have is probably the densest question in the interview.
Okay.
But we've talked about, the experience of music, the actions, the reactions. But when it's just you and music one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
I think music kind of like replenishes me. Like when I had a hard day or when I'm like stressed, I can kind of just pick up my guitar and kind of release, or I can like write a song and kind of release how I feel, so I feel like it's like medicine,
Yeah. No, I gotcha. And yeah, no, I think I always appreciate everybody's answer to that question because even though it's similar, it's really like inspiring to know that like everybody kind of feels the attachment to music, really like bringing them a sense of like solidity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like music is everywhere, man. Like, it's in our culture, it's in food, it's in fashion, it's connected to everything. We can't go anywhere without music.
No, very much so. Well, that it's kind of one of the like truest forms of human connection.
Right, like wherever you go on the globe, they made music there. You know what I'm saying? You go to Egypt, you go to Rome, you go to Australia. They all had their style of music, and they had their own specific instruments. Everybody kind of created the same style of instruments.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like we have the same drive for music.
Yeah,
as humans.
Well, music was created a lot of times to even be communal, which I think is really interesting.
Because we use it to eat. We use it for war. We use it.
Yeah, everything in between. Yeah. All right. But thank you for answering that. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions.
Okay.
And for these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well.
All right, cool.
This first one is pretty straightforward. If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive.
Ooh, okay.
Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
This is crazy you asked me this question, because I always say if I had the chance, I would want to work with Eric Clapton.
Okay.
Yeah, laughing. Because, I feel like Eric Clapton is like the closest person that you can get to like Jimmy that's still alive. You know what I'm saying? And I want to learn some new chops,
Yeah, very much so. Well, that, and he like, I mean, love him or hate him, he has been around for so much of music.
60 years, bro.
So much music.
So much, bro. He doesn't get enough credit. Eric Clapton is...
No. Well, that, he's got, like, his music has been so influential in so many eras of music. And, like, as time progressed, like, you kind of got to watch him go through all of his phases. And
even the tragedy, like, he lost a kid. His kid, like, fell out a window, bro. So it's like...
Well, even, like, in, like, his, like, like, during Cream, he was very, like, very arrogant, very forward, very, like, I know what I'm playing is the biggest and the baddest. And then as time progressed, you kind of got to watch and be like, oh, let's put all of this music at the front.
Exactly.
And like he get like I have an aunt and uncle who are really big fans, and so they would go and watch him live. And like in his later years, they were like, he would always make sure that everybody on stage has their own solo moment. So if you're performing with Eric, you're going to get an opportunity to highlight your ability,
your chops.
Yeah. I mean, granted, if you're playing with him, you're good.
Good,
Hey,
that's commendable.
Yeah, so that is definitely a super solid choice. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
That's weird. I've worked with a lot of artists in Seattle. I work with Isaac Jacuzzi. I recorded last night at Il Chris's studio. I think really the only person I haven't worked with is Lil Mosey that I like would want to.
Yeah.
So,
well, everybody, you know what to do. Add them in the comments. Let's see if we can make that happen.
Yeah, man. Let's get that track going.
Yeah. And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limits, and it's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power. Guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show. And it doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere.
Okay.
Where would you want to perform?
Probably maybe like the Roman Colosseums.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Yeah, or maybe like the Pyramid or something.
Yeah, no, I do. For the Pyramid, would you want to do it where like you're at the bottom with everybody?
Oh, definitely on top.
The top? Okay.
Gotta be on top.
Yeah, just project yourself onto the side of it so everybody can see you.
Put me a platform up there. By this time, maybe we'll have floating platforms. True. I can just like levitate up and then...
Hey, I mean, you never know. You could get there sooner than you think.
You're the first guy.
Yeah. And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday.
Okay.
Who would you want an album from?
Jimi Hendrix.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jimmy.
There will always be a need for more music from him. I think that, we were robbed of many musicians who were way too early in their career.
100%. I'm older than Jimmy now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you and me both. But he was really, there was something so prolific about his sound not just like sonically, but like in the way that he like emoted music.
Yeah,
Note, every like element of it just had something that was so like either intentionally or accidentally just meant to be there.
Literally, yeah. Even down to the production, like it's amazing, man.
Yeah,
I love Jimmy.
Hell yeah.
But you know. Actually, I live down the street from Hendrix grave. It's in Renton.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's kind of. I didn't know that when I first moved. I knew he was from Seattle, but I didn't know he was like buried in Renton until I got to Renton. And like this girl was like, Hendrix is buried down the street. I'm like, take me right now.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah. So I went. I actually shot a video there, Do or Die.
Hell yeah.
Go check that out.
Well, it's cool that you, without knowing, you like gravitated towards that energy.
Yeah. And I always say that.
Hell yeah. All right, but with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up.
Yes, sir.
What can we look forward to between, let's say, now and July?
Hopefully, I get a couple tapes finished. Commercial Clout. That's a rock tape that's coming out. I just got to do a little production with that, and then I'm also dropping Better on Tour. So rap pop tape.
Gotcha. And any shows or anything coming up?
I got a couple of shows. I gotta solidify the dates and the numbers, but definitely there'll be some shows in the near future.
Oh yeah. Well, then for this next one, go and look straight at your camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
I'm on all platforms. 704 Raoh. You can find me on Instagram, Rockstar Raoh.
Oh yeah. And then any other plugs? Any other shout outs? Anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
Shout out to my mom, man. Shout out to my mom and my grandmas. Both of them, they still alive. I love you guys. Shout out to my pops. Shout out to my whole family, man. I love y'all. Y'all made me what I am.
Hell yeah. All right. And with that being said, I've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second. As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Round Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation.
Talk to me.
But in all of music, what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? It's a bit of a deep cut. It's one you think not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know.
An album?
Yeah.
Okay. I got you. Curtis Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember which album it is. It's the one he made for the, I think, Shaft movie.
Oh, God.
I'm your mother, I'm your brother. That Curtis Mayfield. You gotta check that out. He did all the productions. He played all the instruments. He did all the writing. And it's just a very iconic tape.
Yeah.
And I feel like everybody should know that.
Yeah, if y'all don't know it, you definitely should know. That is a super solid rec. So thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, but with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get up on out of here. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Rockstar Raoh.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all. That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.